What's your controversial dating hot take? I think I have a unique perspective. Background: I'm a widower and you too, that I had about a 9-year gap between when I was on the market and looking. Currently married to my wonderful wife I actually met on a dating app 4 years ago. Before I was comfortable enough to put myself back out there I was on forums looking for advice and talking with friends, and the biggest difference I noticed is that people are generally more cowardly with too much of an ego. There was a focus on winning and a fear of losing, and this thought process seemed to permeate all decision making. Maybe I had the advantage of experiencing a healthy partnership, so I knew what to look for, and I was honest with myself and with my partner with what we wanted. But so far it's worked for me twice. That is my 2 cents. There was a focus on winning and a fear of losing, and this thought process seemed to permeate all decision making. I'm not going to phrase this perfectly because I haven't been able to fully conceptualize it, but I notice this with my couple of perpetually single dude friends. We are all pushing 40 these days. They view dating and even individual dates as a competition, and it's like they have some kind of a mental scorecard, and it's always some insane, shallow, regressive, bullshit reason for why they don't want to see the girl again. On the rare occasion they get a date, and it's always that women have impossible standards when they don't get a date. Nobody wants to just hang out. Everyone wants to win or something. I do not get it. Women do not communicate even half as well as they think they do. It seems like a cultural axiom that women are the better communicators of their wants, needs, goals, and issues in relationships. That women don't need practice or to be taught communication skills. This simply isn't true. Women are not inherently better at anything. Communication is a skill that needs to be developed for both men and women. In my experience they're far worse at interpreting and listening than communicating outwardly. I'm getting so sick of the issue in society where you say something with very carefully chosen specific words and phrasing, and they come out with some utterly deranged psychotic twist on what you very clearly meant and said. That is so wild, I just can't see how it can be anything other than deliberate rather than stupid. Yeah, they're so used to speaking indirectly that they look for deeper meanings in everything you say, and it's just not that complicated. People don't want to acknowledge that their loneliness stems from not connecting with people. They'd rather mistake it for lack of intimacy, have sex, and regret it, because it means they'd still have sex. You guys are having sex. What's sex? You shouldn't take dating advice from social media, while listen to a bunch of TikToker that aren't even in a relationship about how to date. People who won't settle end up alone. Everyone settles to some extent. There is no one that you were meant to be with. 100% this. As Dan Savage said, you find that 8, 5 and you round them up to a 10/10. Not exactly. His saying is around the idea of the one. He says there is no the one. We just round someone up from a 0, 85 to the 1. Okay, I misspoke about how he said it, but the point is you find someone who checks most of your boxes and accept the fact that no one is perfect for you. People are unwilling to commit. The goal of dating should be to find your long-term partner, even if you don't want to get married. Most people are not emotionally mature enough to maintain a relationship. Relationships are hard. Life is hard. And most people don't make it past the first year of bliss. Most people bail after that trial period. Most people are not emotionally mature enough to maintain a relationship. I second this. I recently got out of a relationship that ended with a lot of emotional turmoil. I was beating myself up over it, but I realized that my ex was demonstrating a lot of avoidant attachment style behavior and showed strong signs of emotional immaturity. Not that I don't have my flaws, but I came away from it valuing emotional maturity more than I have in the past, because it really isn't as common as I thought. Dating apps have not ruined dating. They're a symptom of a fractured society, and the death of traditional gendered expectations leads into an economic-based partnership structure that is unsustainable for young males and toxic and borderline victimizing for young females. Mine is that dating has not changed or gotten worse to the extent people like to complain it has. People are not shallower, more materialistic, or more selfish than they used to be. Jane Austen was writing novels about women making poor decisions and choosing handsome bad boys over reliable nice guys in the 1700s. Long before there were dating apps, people were running out on long-term partners without explanation in the 1800s. Long before there was ghosting, people were breaking up by writing Dear John letters in the 1940s. Long before they were breaking up by sending text messages and then blocking. People have been cheating on each other and breaking each other's hearts since forever. But on the positive side, there have also been happy marriages since forever. Basically, courtship has always been hard. A certain percentage of both men and women have always behaved selfishly, callously, or dishonestly, and love has always carried risks but also rewards. It's technology that's changed, not human nature or human emotions. I think the difference is just the information is more widely available. You only used to hear about your local drama story. Now you hear it from every corner of the world. Although I will say that the internet increased the problem itself because the horizon is much wider now. The perception of options with Tinder is much wider because you didn't just see your local blonde at the bar, but you know there is someone now 50 kilometers with just the looks. Some people don't date to connect. They date for relief. Relief from loneliness, boredom, self-doubt, pressure. It's not about you. It's about what you temporarily soothe in them. That's why it feels deep at first then hollow as hell later. This explains a lot. Thanks for the insight. Being hormonal is no excuse for acting like an asshole. TBH. It's actively encouraged. For most people, casual hookups are soul destroying and leave you unable to pair bond and become emotionally vulnerable with a long-term partner. I've come to realize that casual hookups have impacted me more deeply than I initially understood. It's made it harder for me to build healthier long-term relationships. I'm trying to unlearn patterns that no longer serve me. Luck is by far and away the most important factor. You should be presenting your authentic self on a date, not some fail best self version of you that will not reflect your day-to-day personality. I would only push back on this, that our authentic selves are not nearly as good as we actually are. I'm not even talking about best self. My regular everyday me is recovering on a couch because work is physically exhausting and I can't really be my inner time else on a normal day. I agree on not being a fake version, but the authentic version doesn't feel like the real me that I want to be either. True, so sounds like shoot for a happy medium. Not dating, but I would never date multiple people at the same time. As in, talking/first date stages. I wouldn't have the bandwidth for starters. There was a time and place I could pull that off. Too much responsibility on my plate these days to have the time required to make that work. Never take dating advice from women about women. What's that old saying? Don't ask a fish how to catch a fish. Ask the fisherman. YOUREP read at ENG on wo me NBYYOUROWN at me SION. God forbid you use an analogy. Anal pervert. Everyone should just agree to pay for themselves on the first couple of dates at least. Expectations are a death knell. If you can't go in very open-minded, at least based on what you already know of the person, you're basically already disappointed. People are too fucked up, you included. Most people are idiots. A lot of people in relationships don't prioritize the other person at all unless they get a short-term reward out of doing so. This means they can be quite flimsy unless the other has lower standards. Communication often sucks because most people don't try very hard to understand the other, and not many are actually willing to compromise some of their communication style to match their partner. Speaking in generalities, men have been taught how to treat women, but not what to expect from women, while women have been taught what to expect from men, but not how to treat men. People with public-facing social media are completely undateable, their only exception being people whose jobs require them to be public-facing on social media. News anchors, people, small business owners, people who consider themselves influencers, or people who are desperate to be influencers, as well as people who just are addicted to attention, are not relationship material in any way. You can't have a successful relationship between two people if you constantly have to invite the entire world into your shared lives together. People with public facing social media are completely undateable. This one really is a hot take. Guys get called serial killers. If they don't have any social media they can point to prove they are who they say they are. Women are more superficial than men. Look at dating apps. It's a meat market and they 100% judge a book by its cover. All men cheat, all men you choose cheat. I never cheated when I was married and neither have my friends. Of course. We're all invisible to them. So this is going to be very controversial. But there is a dating app in Thailand called Thai Friendly, which I tried out while on vacation there. Being a white male on there has got to be about the same as being a woman on Tinder. The likes just do not stop coming. It took me about 2 days to realize, welp, if this is what Western women experience on Tinder, no wonder we are fucked. I realized I was being ridiculously critical over the most minor of things. What? 33 years old? No way. This 27-year-old is cute to mean while I'm 34 myself. I realize how absolutely obnoxious and insane that sounds. But that's because I went from Tinder in the USA to Thailand. If it was a slow steady burn, or worse, if that was all I knew, I probably wouldn't even have the ability to self-reflect and realize how ridiculous the situation and my mindset was getting. Which is how I imagine many women in Western countries feel after using Tinder. Casual sex and hookup culture has permanently ruined a lot of people. Well, you kind of just spelled feminism with extra letters. Not everyone should be dating. Some people either aren't built for it, or have the capacity for it, or are just bad people, or one of the other many reasons. But they will anyway, because society has told them they should, or cause they're lonely, or whatever other reason. There's enough people that we don't need to foist it on everyone. People tell me not to wear metal/punk band shirts and or all black on dates. I do it anyway. So, my take is, if you're a freak, be upfront about it. How are you going to find true love if you don't give them the opportunity to say I like your agnostic front shirt? Women should be more honest. I can't count how often they have lied to me because they've been scared of hurting me. Just tell me you're not interested instead of cancelling a date because of a headache or some other bad excuse. Just tell me you're not into me instead of ghosting me after we've already gotten to know each other. It's not that hard to be honest without being hurtful. And I think this is a huge character flaw. This one's gotten me cooked before. If you meet a woman IRL, you should always pay for the first date. If you meet a woman on a dating site, you should always go Dutch. Why the difference? I think that if you meet someone IRL you have a good sense of their in-person personality before the date, or else why would you ask them out to begin with and know what you're getting yourself into? Rapport has been built and the date is less likely to be a dud and therefore less financial risk. On a dating app, it's the opposite, especially if you're going on multiple first dates. Over time, it becomes very expensive to date. In my opinion, you also get enough of an opportunity to chat with them and see if you like their personality before asking them out on a dating app, and being the person doing the asking out means you can limit your dates to fit your finances, whether you're splitting or not. If you're struggling to get a date/get laid, you're probably just ugly. Joke's on you. I'm just broke. Plenty of poor people having way too much sex and way too many babies. That's just an excuse you're using in your head. Most guys aren't as ugly and undateable as they think. They just put the bare minimum amount of effort into their appearance. They dress poorly, have neck beards, no skincare routine, don't work out, etc. Or they don't have good photos on their profile. Some of what I've seen include clearly old pictures, pixelated photos, only group photos, sunglasses and hat in all photos they aren't in, of only pets or cars, don't smile in any pictures. Most men have low standards. Imagine dating a woman who wants a man with a car, his own place, tall, got his S together, and the woman herself can't even afford any of that. A lot of relationships are just charity cases. So pro tip, date within your tax bracket. If she says she wants a man who makes more than her, then she's just looking for a lifestyle upgrade.